Hey everyone, Jason here, digital marketing consultant, and in this Google Ads tutorial for local businesses, we are going to go click by click exactly how to set up your first search campaign for your local based business. Make sure you check out the helpful links in the description to other videos on how to optimize and do keyword research in depth if you want to take this a step further, as well as a timestamp table of contents so you can easily skip around this tutorial. We'll walk through the 4 steps in Google Slides, and then we'll dive right into the Google Ads interface and set up a campaign from scratch. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into my screen here. And the first step of this process is identifying the product or service that gets your initial point of contact. So if you're a services-based business, what's that kind of initial service that you can offer that's going to get someone to give you their name and email, or give you a call, or give you their phone number, or book a free consultation? For physical products, you're looking at kind of either doing a coupon or a doorbuster just to get someone in the door. So essentially, whether your services or product, you're just trying to figure out what is it that's you can offer to actually get the attention of your prospect or customer. Now, before we move on to step number 2, I want to go through this diagram here and just walk you through how Google Ads is structured. So what we just talked about is identifying the product that you're going to be having in the back of your mind as we go through this tutorial video. The next step is understanding how all of this is structured. So we have campaigns, then we have ad groups, and then we have ads. So inside of each one of these levels, we're going to be focusing on something different. At the campaign level, look, what we just talked about is the product. We are focusing on one product for each campaign. Inside of our campaigns are something called ad groups. And these ad groups are where we set the targeting and the bids for our targeting. And then finally, we have the ads. And this is where we're testing our messaging. This is where we're trying different ad creative and ad copy to grab potential customers' attention. And now that we have a basic understanding of the structure, it's time to go ahead and take a look at what product or service we're going to offer for our specific campaign. So the good news is you can make as many campaigns as you want. You can offer as many product or services in these campaigns. We're just going to focus on one. So here's a slide with a couple other ideas if you don't necessarily know where to start with what product to offer. So once we are here, we've got our product or service that we're going to focus on. Now it's time for keywords. And keywords are how we tell Google when we want our ads to show up in search results. So we actually have a lot of different targeting options, and there are a lot that I'm not going to cover in this video. You can target audiences, you can do something called remarketing, where you send ads to people who've already visited your site. Here, we're going to keep it nice and simple to the point using keywords. Of course, when we dive into the AdWords interface or Google Ads interface, this is going to make a whole lot more sense. Now, something that's very important to note with your keywords is focusing on broad keywords is a recipe for disaster. Here, we want to be very focused. We want to zero in on who is that ideal customer, who's that ideal prospect that we want to give us a phone call, want their email, or want to walk into our store. We do not just want to try and capture everyone under the sun. That's a very surefire way to burn your ad dollars. So taking a look at this diagram here, I actually have a set of keywords already done, ready to go for you. So the first is if your services, or you're trying to do lead generation, essentially you can have the name of your service and then the location. Of course, the next one is we switch, or you could say top service location or service near me. For business and profession, we essentially do the same thing, except we just call out what type of business or professional we are. Now, if you're doing physical products, we can do sale-based keywords. We can just have an ad group that just has the name of our product. And then we can also have a buy list where we're looking for people who are actively trying to buy the products that we offer. Now, something to note, the product ad group is the one that you would want to test last. You want to test sale and buy because this represents people who are actively looking to purchase something, as opposed to if they just type in your product or service, we don't really know what they're looking for. They could be looking for reviews, they could be doing comparison shoppings, they could just not even know what the heck it is, and they just want to know what is your service or what is your product. Where if someone's typing in sale or buy, they're past that phase. They already know what you offer and they're looking for a product or service to buy right now. So let's go through an example of what this could look like for a PPC management agency. So if we're doing location-based and we're targeting the service that we're offering, we could say PPC Management Seattle, Google Ads Management Seattle, Seattle Google Ads Management. You kind of get the idea. And of course, we could say PPC agency or marketing agency. Although something to note here, a little asterisk, is marketing agency and PPC agency don't represent the same person, right? Someone typing in marketing, we don't know what type of marketing they're looking for, whereas PPC is very specific in the fact that they're looking for pay-per-click management, not just general marketing. So you do want to keep this in mind when you're choosing how to name your business or name your products and services using these keyword lists. So we'll actually go through the Google Ads interface in a little bit here, and you'll see exactly where to put in these keywords. And you might be thinking like, Jason, wait a second, what about research? And I'm here to tell you that the list of keywords I've given you, timestamp table of contents, you can go back, is all you need to get started. $5 or $10 a day. After a week of running ads, you are going to save yourself so much time and headache doing keyword research because of the search terms report. And this is one of the most underutilized reports that I see beginners just not even knowing it exists. So after you've run your ads for a couple of days or at least a week, you have a few thousand impressions or a few thousand times your ad has shown up, Google is going to tell you exactly which keywords you showed up for, and more importantly, exactly which keywords got you the most clicks and got you the most actions that you needed people to take. So there's no need to do hours and hours of keyword research when you can use these basic lists, spend $50 to $100, and Google will just give you the answer, right? It's one of those things where you don't have to study, you don't have to go research. Google will just give you the answer for less than $100 in advertising. So now that we have our product and service down, we have a list of keywords. Go ahead and hit that like button if you're still watching and getting some value out of this video. You can always comment below if you have any questions. Timestamp table of contents to jump around. We are ready for our ad. And this is another area that I see a lot of beginners get tripped up on. And there's no need to go take a copywriting course. You don't need to spend hours trying to craft the perfect ad or the perfect message, because 9 out of 10 times, whatever you write out of the gate is going to be changed within a month or two. So what you want to do here is go figure out what are the ads that Google thinks are good. And the easiest way to do this is to take one of your keywords. In this particular instance, we have PPC Management Agency, and just type it in and make sure you're in the same local area that you want to target. So don't have any VPNs turned on, because that's going to mess up all your results. You need to be in the actual area that you want to be targeting. And if that means you have to do a bit of a drive and go to a coffee shop, it is well worth it. So we want our IP address to be in the same location that you are targeting. So with this, we can go ahead and take a look at the results, and what we want to look for are what is being promised in the ad, what are the unique selling propositions of these competitors that are showing up, how are they trying to differentiate themselves, and what are they promising. So just as an example here, looking at these PPC management agencies, I see long-term unmatched PPC growth, tremendous growth in our business. Ideally, it should say tremendous growth in your business, because we should be talking to the prospects. So that's actually kind of a bad example. We have lead generation agency, results driven, ROI focused. These give you kind of power words and buzzwords that you can play around with, and you want to use the same vernacular or same kinds of words in your own ads to attract potential customers. The next thing you want to do after you're done looking at results, promises, and unique selling propositions is look for what are other common elements. In this particular example, we see a lot of them offer something for free, and a free account audit, a free consultation. Then 3 of the 4 also talk about having case studies. So in this instance, we'd want to make sure in our ad, we have something that talks about having a free consultation or free strategy call, a free account audit, and then also something about a case study or having reviews. Now, something that's very interesting, if we're looking at this and it's offering a free AdWords audit, now it's Google Ads, it's a little old of a screenshot. What this actually tells us is that most of the people who are searching this already have an account. And so you can actually kind of infer from the ad copy what your potential customers already have, or what specifically they're looking for, or where they are in the buying path, right? These ads aren't designed for someone who has never set up an account before. If you are offering a free review, that most likely means potential customers already have an account and it's not working. So that's just a little insight into how to figure out what to put in your ads. Now, specific guidelines for writing your ads, you have up to 30 characters for your 2 headlines. Google Ads right now, as of this recording, is experimenting with a 3rd headline, although I'm not really going to count on that until it becomes set in stone. So when you're setting up your ad, you can add a 3rd headline, but you never know if Google's actually going to use it or not. It's just kind of one of those things that they're currently testing. Then with your URL, you have up to 15 characters, and this is where you can do something pretty cool, where your URL that shows up in your ad doesn't have to be the exact same as what your ultimate URL is, or your ultimate site or landing page. So you can use buzzwords like limited time, discount, free this, free that, coupon code in your URL text, and it's just a great way to use your small ad real estate to help call out attention to your ad across everybody else's. Finally, you have the description, where you have 90 characters of text to just kind of reinforce what's said in the headline and whatever you did with your URL. Typically, when you're setting up your new campaign, you want 3 to 5 different headline variations to test, and your URLs and body copy or description can pretty much be the same. And just like that, we've chosen our product or service, we have our list of keywords, and we have a good system for creating and writing our first set of ads. So now what we're ready to do is jump into the AdWords interface and actually put together our campaign. So here are the settings that I recommend you use as you move forward optimizing and testing. We're going to start at $10 a day. We'll set the start date to the tomorrow morning, and that's just to make sure that you have plenty of time to go through all of your settings and make sure nothing goes live while you're still trying to fix things. For languages, we'll use whatever your native language is, and then for location, we will be doing cities, neighborhoods, and zip codes. And I'll get into what our bidding strategy options are in a little bit here. So I'm inside my Google Ads campaign manager here, and once you've set up an account, I've gone from overview, I've clicked on campaigns, and we could click this giant blue plus button and click create new campaign. So it'll give you all of these options for different types of campaigns to set up. Since this is the first time we're setting up a campaign, and I'm going to assume you don't have all that fun conversion tracking set up yet, we need to click website clicks. Doing leads and sales is great if you already know you have a website that's working or you've run traffic in the past. And then here we'll be able to select what type of campaign we want, and it is going to be search. And now we can go ahead and click continue. We'll go ahead and give our campaign a name. Now this is very important for networks. We do not want the display network. We only want the search network. If you want to be fancy, you can create one campaign where you check Google search partners, and you can create another campaign where you don't. Since we're just starting, I'm going to go ahead and leave search partners there. Scrolling down to show more settings, we're going to change our start date to whatever the next Monday is or the next day is. I'm going to have this set up to start next week, and then select an end date that's 5 to 7 days after your start date. So I'm just going to let this run from a Monday to Monday. And the reason I now suggest doing this, I didn't always, but the reason I now suggest doing this is it makes sure that just in case something happens in your life, just in case you forget, this is going to automatically stop, because Google will just spend that cache as quickly as it can. And now for targeting. So we'll go ahead and click on advanced search. And what you can do is start typing in the specific cities around your business that you want to target. Then you can go ahead and actually target by neighborhood as well. And then you can also target by zip code. You want to be very, very thorough here. And even though on the map it's going to overlap quite a bit, you'll actually find after a couple of months of running campaigns, you'll find that a specific zip code does better than other ones, or a specific neighborhood does better than other ones. And the reason that this is important is is zip code doesn't necessarily equal neighborhood, and city doesn't necessarily equal a group of neighborhoods or a group of zip codes. So it's great to have all three because it will help you figure out what the best way to target is moving forward. So in this particular example, if we're in Washington, in the Seattle area, we'd go ahead and target Seattle. We target Seattle, Tacoma. We would target Bellevue and Auburn and Redmond, and then we could actually go down here and it would give us a list of zip codes. Now, I personally recommend that you go look up all the zip codes in whatever area you are, and then come up here and click Add Bulk Locations, and then you can just copy and paste all of them in. So I'll go ahead and click Cancel. Languages, we'll just leave it at English. Google typically does a pretty good job of giving you the default search, the default language. And then when we come down here to audiences, this is actually something that you want to ignore. This is a great thing to use for display, but because we're doing a search campaign for the first time, we're just going to leave that alone. We're only going to be using keywords. Next, we have our budget and bidding. We're going to be setting our budget at the campaign level. So we're still at the campaign level, that top part in that diagram. So here we'll do $10 a day. And of course, Google, in its own best interest, will always tell you to spend more. You can always increase it if it's not working. That's okay. And then what do you want to focus on? Now here it's telling us conversions. We don't want that. And this is something that you have to be very careful with as you're setting up your campaigns, because Google is trying to do its best to make Google Ads the easiest platform, an easier platform for advertisers to use. The problem is that it makes no sense for you to optimize for conversions when you haven't had any conversions yet. So here we're going to bid based on clicks. Once you have a couple of conversions on your web, well, at least 50 or 100 conversions, then you can bid for every time someone takes an action on your site that you want, like every time someone gives you a phone call, or every time someone enters their name and email, or purchases a product, or books a consultation. You can pay for those actions, but if you haven't had those actions yet, you're going to spend a lot of money while Google tries to figure out how much that action should cost. So we'll just do by click. That gives us the maximum amount of control, ensures that Google doesn't burn any of our money, and we'll set the default bid to $2. Once we enter in our keywords, Google will actually tell us after a day or so how much we need to actually be on the first page. I just started at 2 or 3 by default. And finally, on this page, we're going to go and click the down arrow, and we will click Add Rotation. Optimize for best performing, we don't want. We want them to rotate indefinitely. And what this does is it makes sure that Google sends the same amount of traffic to each ad. You need to be in control of what ad is working and what ad is not. So you will have to go into your ad groups and take a look at which ads are performing and turn them off. If you want this to be on autopilot straight out of the gate, which I don't recommend, then you can leave it at Optimize. And that's all we need to do here. We can set up our site links later, click Save and Continue, let it load, and then we'll have the opportunity to create our ad group. So this is where we're going to create our first ad group. Here I'm going to call it PPC Management 1, and then I'll paste in a couple of the keywords that we had from our default list. So here are 4 keywords, and this is pretty much enough, all we need for this campaign. Now what's nice is there are something called match types inside of Google Ads. So when we just put them in here, they're by default something called broad match, which means Google is just going to do its best to show your ads every time something kind of in the same realm of PPC Management Seattle shows up. If we want to be more specific, we can do the exact same list, but instead put quotation marks at the end, and this is going to be something called a phrase match. Now, a phrase match is more exact in that it makes sure that your ads will only show up when a variation of this specific phrase is typed in. Whereas PPC management, you can show up for marketing agency, you would show up for digital marketing, you would show up for very broad things. Whereas if we did PPC Management Seattle with quotations, all of those words or some variation of those words has to be in the search results. So broad is like this, and phrases like this, and then exact match is like this, and that's the last type we can do, exact match, and that's where we put brackets around our keywords so that the ad will only show up if someone types in exactly PPC Management Seattle. Obviously, your traffic is going to be a lot lower, which is why we use all three, because after a week or so, you're going to figure out which style works or which match type works the best. And then when you create new campaigns in the future, you'll know, you know what, exact doesn't get me enough, and broad gets me all these things I don't want, but phrase does really well. So at this point in the process, we can either click save and continue, or we could add another ad group and do the exact same thing with our next list of keywords and then just keep going. For example purposes, I'm going to just click save and continue, and we will move on to creating our ad. So here we would enter our URL. We'd go ahead and put our 2 headlines. Here's the headline number 3 that they're currently testing. Our 2 paths, and this is where we can put discount, limited time, coupon code, free, whatever, and then our description one, and another thing they're testing, description number 2. So whenever you see something that says new, doesn't always necessarily mean it's here to stay, and then we'd go ahead and click done, and we would be complete setting up our campaign. For time purposes, I'm going to skip this process, and when you're all done setting up, and be taken to the summary of the new campaign that we set up. So we'll just give you a quick summary of everything that you put together, and we can click continue to campaign. And here is the campaign that we just put together. You can see the status here is pending. It's search, $10 a day. We have our ad group with our list of keywords, and you'll see each match type shows up as a different keyword, which is why I recommend keeping the initial keywords you use very small, because 4 keywords turned into 12 relatively quickly. And that is all there is to it, to getting started and setting up your first search campaign for your local services business. Now, our PPC campaign tutorial is almost done. The last thing I want to show you is the search terms report. So for this particular PPC campaign tutorial, this is the most important kind of part of the last step, which is optimization. And with your optimization, this is where you're going to be able to see the keywords that your ads actually showed up for. So we came up with the keywords that we're saying, hey Google, show us when someone types in this type of keyword or this exact keyword or this combination of keywords. This will show you the exact keywords you showed up for and what those people did. Now, eventually this report will have enough data where you'll be able to see and find new keywords that represent ones that get you more clicks, get you more phone calls, more people downloading your coupon codes, or whatever your initial offer is to grab the attention of your potential customers. And that is all there is to it, to setting up your Google Ads campaign. If you got some value out of this video, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe for more digital marketing tutorials and strategies just like the ones covered in this video. Over on my channel, I'm documenting the entire process of what it takes to be successful with your digital marketing. If you have any questions, go ahead and comment below. Remember, there's a timestamp table of contents. And until the next video, you know what to do. Keep building the business you love.